How much would you expect to pay for this supercluster with 1 terabyte of RAM? Wait, don't answer. Comes with 168 compute cores.
I can't believe this is happening on the tech. You guys are watching the best show ever, and that's a scientific fact. KFA2 or Galax, depending on what part of the world you're in, started an overclocking event a few years ago. Since then, it has grown, and last year there were 60,000 gamers in China for an epic overclocking event. At the GOC 2015 Worldwide Qualifier this year, they're bringing 12 of the biggest overclockers out there. There's going to be some tournaments and plenty of gaming. Now you can win a chance to go to Wuhan, China, participate in the event, and possibly hang out with us. All you have to do is have the appropriate GTX 980 Ti Hall of Fame LN2 Galax Overclock Edition graphics card, overclock it yourself, and submit your score to 3D Mark. All the details are in a link right in the top of the description, so go ahead and click on that, and maybe we'll be seeing you in China.
You guys are watching a show with a couple of bozos on YouTube, and it's really kind of sad. Although we're going to go into evangelical mode in a little bit, and then we're going to hope that you give us money. So stay tuned for that.
Hallelujah. So yeah, I'm in this room. I got to clean this room, Wendell. I've been meaning to clean it for a while. We've unboxed a gazillion things. I've got my Monoprice audio gear over here. By the way, the Monoprice studio monitors sound freaking amazing for the money. They didn't pay me a penny to say that. They just sound freaking amazing. So excited to play with those things, but I need to spend a full day moving all the boxes out of this tiny room because I'm up to my ears in computer cases and boxes. Some people would love that problem, not me. And also, KFA2 or Galax, depending on what part of the world you're in, we are going to check out the largest LAN party in the world, as you guys saw in the pre-roll ad thing. But I'm freaking excited about this. I've never been to that part of China. And I can't even imagine the scale that this is going to be. Like, way bigger than DreamHack even. So you guys stay tuned for that video. As soon as you see it in the feed, you click on it. That's just what you do, because I do this, I check out all the hardware because I like to use it, and one of the ultimate ways to use it is to go to a LAN party. So a LAN party of this magnitude with that many nerds together, and plus you guys will get to see a little bit of the culture of, an Eastern LAN party, if you will. So it'll be a different experience. So be sure to watch in late November, early December for that video. Just freaking watch for it, man. All right, and I won't talk about that nearly as much in the future. This is just a big announcement right now. So, all right, let's get down to business and see what's going on with the world. So, the White House is saying that, just what the same thing the FCC said. We'll just briefly mention this and move on. But they're reiterating the fact that now broadband is a core utility like your electricity. There's some statements here from Obama and that sort of thing, talking about how now it's essentially a need of everyone, not just water and not just electricity. Now it's become a need. I mean, because if you really think about it, is electricity a need? No, not technically, but in this day and age, it's pretty much a need. But I guess it depends on your standards, but it's a necessity in this day and age.
Well, consider this. Consider that electricity, yes, electricity is absolutely a necessity. You absolutely have to have electricity, period. But the grid is really what that's a part of. There is going to be a future in the not too distant future, I think, where your electricity you actually generate yourself, probably solar, maybe wind, but probably solar, or at least it's going to be on a community scale. We may not have a national power grid. It may actually be a local power grid or a subdivision power grid or something like that. There may be this small underground nuclear reactor that's very small that DARPA has developed and had for decades to supply extra power. But you actually could legitimately get most of your energy from the sun, if solar cells continue improving in efficiency the way that they have been. Just throw a couple solar cells on your roof, maybe some in your yard. You're basically good to go. Even if you live somewhere that's sort of problematic, it's still a thing. It could still happen. Maybe supplemented with, wind or nuclear or whatever. And so in some ways, internet access is going to be depending more on a centralized infrastructure than electricity delivery, is my point with that. And so that's sort of interesting to think about, and interesting to think about the implications of that in terms of regulation, universal citizenry access, and that kind of thing.
I mean, one thing I want to also mention is that we need to keep an eye on this for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's nice that they're understanding that everyone needs the internet, but also at the same time, Obama has been, not too good as far as encryption goes, and also he's been pretty supportive of the NSA and all their schemes. So those two do go together. The more we spread internet, the more we're going to have to worry about privacy. So I don't know. I can't be too excited about the administration. While they're doing one thing right, they're doing the other thing wrong. So yeah.
The more connected we are, the harder we've got to fight to protect our privacy, to fight the slippery slope of fascism.
I know a way to fight it. Let's elect Jeb Bush. How about that? That's the best idea ever for internet freedom. This guy gets it. Jeb Bush understands the world. I mean, look at him right here. He may as well put dress him up in a plaid shirt. He looks like so young and well informed. And said no one ever. No, no. So some of the stuff that's coming out of this guy's mouth. I mean, I know he's not going to get elected, but every time he opens his mouth, he needs like an advisor to walk around with like a handbag or a big bag or a duffel. They need a duffel bag filled with shoes, so that every time he opens his mouth, they can just shove a shoe in there. Just stick a shoe right in his freaking mouth, because every time he opens his mouth, it's exactly what happens. You put the foot right in his mouth. So anyway, he's decided that we need to get rid of net neutrality because from his perspective, it's doing harm to companies like Comcast and Netflix. It's allowing Netflix to do harm to companies like Comcast, Time Warner, and Verizon because it's stopping them from recouping, all the profits they should be getting. He said it better than I did. Also, he thinks that everyone needs to stop being so negative about the NSA, and there's a direct quote in here somewhere that's even worse than I'm paraphrasing and making him sound better because I don't even know how to be as stupid as this dumbass. And he thinks we need to kill encryption. He's really upset that companies like Apple and Google have been, big on encryption. He's saying that it makes it more difficult for the government to do their job because we have all this freaking encryption. So, I mean, here's a guy who gets it. He understands that America needs to be up the butt of the world, as it were. And they need all this control, and they need to get rid of net neutrality and encryption, and totally. So, vote for Jeb Bush,
I suppose Silicon Valley hasn't given him enough money, and he wants to bomb Silicon Valley back to the Stone Age. It's like, Silicon Valley doesn't have enough democracy. Let's totally do away with all the things that the information economy depends on for income outside of the U.S.
I mean, I don't know if he is going to get any votes. What if he actually does get votes? Because that's the other thing. While traveling abroad, every time you mention, hey, I'm from America, people are like, oh, wow. And they start mentioning stupid politicians like, well, I guess Donald Trump's not exactly a politician, but they're all like, why do you allow him to be on television? Why are you allowing him to speak in public? Why is he, a voice for America? And it's just like, oh God, I'm sorry, I can't answer these questions. But now, if Jeb wins, it's going to be even worse than George. I mean, well, I don't know, crimes against humanity. I don't know. I'm sure Jeb will figure that out too once he gets in power. He's like, all I have to do is press this one button, and it'll roast some people in the Middle East. Let's roast them all. That's the Bush way.
Wow.
Yeah, I went there. I don't know why I did, but I did. So, okay, let's just move on. I'm sick of that dumbass. It makes me angry. Yeah, that's it. Demonizing was what he said. He doesn't want people to demonize the NSA.
Well, if he legitimately understands these things this way, that's even sort of more horrifying that he would be, the leader of the U.S. Because it's clearly not that black and white.
That's kind of the takeaway I was getting from this, is that he actually believes these things. But a lot of the people that he hangs out with and goes to resorts with are executives from these companies. And they tell him how bad things are, and they vent to him, and they have their scotch in their parlor at 4:30 in the afternoon. They have their scotch and cigars, and they're like, listen, Jeb, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, look at Netflix. Netflix is killing us. And then we got the American people and all this, and they're all just killing us, man. I mean, we don't have enough profit. We can't swallow up all the other companies just yet. Can you help us out a little bit? Jeb's like, that's awful. I can't believe that America would allow this to happen. That's probably what's happening. He's that stupid.
Meanwhile, a report just came out that said America has slipped to 55th in 4G speeds and penetration. In your face, Indonesia.
Yeah, we just higher than Indonesia now. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we're just higher than Indonesia.
Man, they've got
Everybody
really
else,
good food, though.
woo, 55, America, woo, go.
How about this malware that infects ATMs? This is kind of a fun thing. So some malware, malware on ATMs is a thing, but this new one is very interesting. It's the green dispensary malware. And in order to install this malware, you have to have access to the ATM. So someone's either doing this on the inside or somehow people are gaining access to the physical ATMs. I'm not sure exactly how well it can spread, but the cool thing is that when this malware is installed, a regular person walks up and they look at the ATM and it's like, oh, this thing's out of order. But if you're a hacker, you're like, oh, I know this screen. And you go up and you put in a special PIN number. It gives you access. And then it does two-step verification. You have to also, it'll spit out a QR code. And then you'll have to use your phone to generate a one-time random PIN to pair with the machine. After that, you have access and you can just start spitting money out, whatever you want to do.
I have a feeling
Go ahead.
Well, I have a feeling that this is what it feels like to be a Goldman Sachs employee. So maybe the hackers just wanted that.
This should have been called the Goldman Sachs simulator malware.
Yeah, it's
Goldman
like,
Sachs.
oh, this is not a regular ATM. It's even got the warning, warning people off not to stick their credit card in it. It's like, this ATM is for Goldman Sachs employees only. Or should I say Goldman Sachs executives? This ATM is for Goldman Sachs executives only. It's like, oh, hello, sir. Please take all of my cash. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Don't worry. We'll just call the Fed and they'll print us some more. No,
it's not
deal.
a bug. It's a feature.
Anyway, I'm not sure exactly how to... I'm not sure how they can. I guess they have to reinstall stuff, but I'm wondering if this kind of thing could possibly be spread through the internet and then attached to these devices, and just it would be crazy.
In this case, it's just reinstalling from like USB or CD-ROM or whatever.
Right.
So, but yeah, at least it warns regular people off of using them.
Let's do some talk about this ad block situation that's going on online. We've mentioned this a few times before, but the other side of the story, I'm usually on the side that says, listen, the content providers out there like us and all the other people online and different websites, they have to have ads or else they can't pay for the server and they can't eat and they have to go get a regular job at some company and then they won't have time to do this. There's another side to this whole thing that we haven't looked at, and that's the fact that the ads are becoming really obnoxious and annoying. I mean, they used to be really obnoxious and annoying, but now like these 15-second time limit full screen takeovers and that sort of thing are just getting out of control. So that's why I use ad block. If the ads were, like this one on the side over here, that's not too bad. Just, well, maybe that's not even an ad. These are stories. But if it was like simple and just out of the way like that, maybe they could stick around, but they've got to go. So there's some other methods for supporting different content that you like out there. This is the chart showing like, ad block users. And we did launch a Patreon campaign that we're going to get to in a second. And you guys are freaking awesome. Like, I'll just say that right now, but we'll get to this in just a second and not spend too much time on it. But there's another thing that you can do. If you feel strongly enough about it, I mean, you can do this. There is I guess it's a gadget or a plugin that allows you to contribute. Now, actually, this I'll let you explain this. This is through Google. So, Wendell, I'll let you go ahead with this Google contributor article here.
So this is the situation. This just came out. You should totally check out Matt Kutz's awesome blog. If you don't want to see Google ads on the sites that you support, there's an option now. And so instead of Google ads rendering ads for you, you can choose to pay Google to support the sites that you run the ads on. So this is sort of a nice indirect way. Instead of giving us money directly, or if you want to, sort of consolidate, and there's a whole bunch of sites that you want to support that run ads, as long as they're running AdSense ads, Google AdSense ads, which is what we run, then you can tell Google, and Google will, instead of displaying ads, will display whatever you want. You can actually specify your own URL. There's a few different presets. So for us, in our case, if you were to do that, you would be able to go look at a report monthly and see how many dollars you've actually contributed to us by looking at our content and sites and things like that. And you would not see ads, at least not AdSense ads, everywhere that we have AdSense ads. And it's not just us, it's any Google site with AdSense, which is a significant amount of the population out there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about that is a lot of the bigger sites use dedicated ad platforms or possibly do internal advertising. And we're talking like sites like The Verge. They do use supplemental AdSense stuff, but a lot of the full screen takeovers are not actually AdSense, and that's the thing that most people want to block. So this might be an interesting thing to do, and I do feel like I should, try to help out wherever I can. God, you can really learn a lot about somebody from the list of websites they go to. Have you seen the sites you've contributed to down here?
Yeah.
Anyway, see what sites you contribute to. Anyway, let's check out our Patreon campaign, and I'll be short on this because we haven't created our video thing about this yet, saying exactly what we're doing. But I will say, last week we mentioned this, and I was kind of like spitballing with Kane and with Paul. We were in California doing the tech, and someone wrote me an email like, "Dude, if you guys were writing a business proposal, no one would ever give you any money because you guys are all over the place." And I'm like, that's not. We were just spitballing. What we want to say over here is all here. It's all written out and it's all organized. And you know what? I might be a chaotic person. I am a pretty chaotic person. Kane's pretty chaotic. But, Jennifer is on staff now. She is an MBA. She has an MBA with an emphasis in leadership, and she's really helping put together the outlines of the business plans and that sort of thing. And also, Wendell is the personality type that is very organized. So I wouldn't worry about that because I'm not going to be in the driver's seat when it comes to plans and seeing them through to fruition. I'm going to bring my creative side and apply it to this. So that's
I'll give you a really succinct summary. Here's your chance. Support us. We've got the Patreon thing set up. So, we've had tech support for a while, and thank you everybody that has done that. That's been really awesome. But Patreon is sort of a more generic platform, and a lot of people expressed interest in doing stuff with Patreon. So the people that watch this video, probably going to be about 70,000 people. If all of you guys gave $1 a month, it would be completely transformative. And so this is the evangelical portion. It's like, you need to reach down and give in order to, whatever. But here's your chance. Like, seriously.
Speak in tongues, little. That works. Speak in tongues.
Here's your chance. We don't really talk about all this very much at all, but let me explain how this actually works with like the ad stuff. So if we have at the beginning of a video that we say this was sponsored by, or thank you to whoever for doing whatever, then it was sponsored. If that is not there, then it was not sponsored, period. Sometimes we get loaner hardware. Sometimes we get free hardware. Sometimes it's like, oh, we would like to do this project. Like, I'm going to build this FreeNAS thing that I can do 2 gigabytes per second on at a dual link 10 gigabit, which I have built. In order to do that, I need face-meltingly fast SSDs, which the first thing that popped into mind was the Intel 750 SSD. Didn't actually make any traction whatsoever at getting one of those until the Skylake thing, which is like a year later. So, yeah, no one cares about us. We're two bozos on YouTube. Literally, no one cares about us.
I think the audience does. The audience does care about who we are and what we're doing.
Well, no, I mean like commercially. It's like...
Yeah.
Now, companies have approached us and said, we would like to give you several $1,000s in exchange for putting an article on the website, which we have completely refused thus far.
My default answer has been no to almost everything. Someone calls, and before they even tell me their plan, I'm like, no. Like, do you want to do a 1 minute long pre-roll? I don't care if it's funny. If I'm going to do something funny, like a funny comical pre-roll ad or whatever, if I'm going to spend the energy doing something like that, I don't care about the money. I want to make it and make it completely original and not have to tie it into some product or whatever. I don't like those kind of rules, and that's also stuff that we have to do that consumes a lot of our time to pay the bills. And you guys don't really like a lot of the shit that we have to do to pay the bills, and this is a way to remove that responsibility so we can do more of the stuff that you do like.
Well, no. Let's make it even more clear than that. Our goal is not to have 50 people on staff cranking out content at the fastest rate possible. Our goal is to just do what we want to do and make interesting videos. Like I have been, and I will continue to do so. This is kind of a hobby for me, so I don't even really care. It's like, make money, don't make money. I don't care, whatever. But it's like we can't run the operation that way. Yeah, because Logan's got to eat and all that kind of stuff. But the goal here is not to have to turn this into a 50-person enterprise with a lot of insanity. Long term, I would love to do more journalistic stuff. Journalistic stuff takes money. There's a lot of like Pulitzer Prize winning authors out there that will work for basically nothing because the newspaper industry has imploded. And they would make excellent investigative journalists and writers and things like that for the technical industry. We could do an insane amount of stuff like that at the upper echelons on the Patreon side. But here's your chance. And so, like, if you don't want to see the over commercialization and you want to see us just continue to do our own thing, support us directly so that we don't have to take money from anybody. I mean, we take a little bit of money right now occasionally, and you see that in the videos. But if you don't even want to do that, then contribute to Patreon. That's what it's there for. So this is kind of an experiment. It's like, okay, audience, you know, put up and support us. This is what it's there for. If you're not going to support us, then we're going to have to continue to do where we get a little bit of revenue from here and a little bit of revenue from there and a little bit of revenue from somewhere else. The other thing with Google Ads, and this is the reason we like Google Ads, because of ad block, the revenue from that has gone to basically nothing on YouTube and the website and just everywhere. And it's mainly because of ad block. Our audience is very sophisticated, and so there's no revenue in that really anymore. The ads are there,
I'll break it down. Let me do the breakdown real quick. But we're doing 400,000 or 500,000 hits per month extra compared to this time last year, and we're making about 1/4. So yeah, we've improved our hits by like 25% on YouTube, and we're making 1/4 of what we did last year thanks to ad block.
And traffic on the website is insanely way up. A lot of lurkers, a lot of people doing how-tos, wikis, all this kind of stuff. And there's no ad revenue to support it. I mean, there's not because of ad block and whatever else.
Yeah, we made like $120 last month on the website. That's about it.
It's kind of crazy. And, you know, we don't really care because, again, you know, it's fine. It's not really fine. But again, Patreon, if you want to support that and that kind of thing. So long story short, we really just want to produce interesting original content. How-tos, shows like this, which we're going to do anyway, probably regardless. And long-term documentaries and investigative things and things that require a little bit more thought and a little bit more organization. If you want to see that, you need to support it because advertisers are never going to support that. Individuals will have to support that. This is really the problem the newspaper industry has. This is the reason that the newspaper industry imploded. So if you want to be part of a grand experiment to see if maybe this kind of a thing is sort of where journalism is going to go. I don't even want to think of myself as any kind of journalist, but I mean, that's really, really scary to think about. But hey, Second Amendment is kind of important in the U.S. and, you know, international people probably will support us too. Actually, international people probably support us more than domestic people. Thank you. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'll say this. If I see any of you guys out there who are contributing through Patreon or through tech support, I will buy you a beer if I see you in the wild. That's and I don't care if you're giving $1 a month. I'll buy you a beer just to say thanks because for me the bottom line is it's always been about the community, and that's all I really care about. I don't want to be a branch. A lot of the companies out there see a lot of the YouTubers as, oh look, it's a branch of our marketing arm. Let's just use them, and that's not what it's about for me. I don't care about that. I care about the community. That's why we started this thing so we could hang out, you know, share knowledge, play some video games, and make the world better. All that grandiose stuff.
And I'll tell you, we've turned down a lot of money that a lot of other people have not turned down. Not to say that there's anything wrong with product placement or anything, but Bell. I'm just saying, product placement, Taco Bell. It's like, do you think Dell for those 9 monitors paid us anything for product placement? No, there's nothing in this entire shot that is paid product placement. Nothing. It's just. I did the Intel box thing, and people were like, oh, you need to disclose you were paid for that. It's like, no, Intel sent me a toy, and I'm playing with a toy on camera. There's no changing of hands. There's no money here. It's not a quid pro quo. It is literally, this sounds interesting. And then, you know, the real thing was like, well, there's an Intel 750 SSD in there, and it's like, damn it, I need that because I want to do a video on getting that to work on FreeNAS and making it face-meltingly fast. And it's like, all right, I'll do that for you guys. It's fine.
When Dollar Shave Club called, Wendell grew his beard out to tell him what he thought. All right, let's move on.
No, the craziest one, the most tempting one was the chairs. And so it was like an unnamed organization was like, oh my God, let's send you chairs. And it's like, dude, I've got a Steelcase Leap chair. This is like a 10-year chair. There is no way you're going to convince me that this is better than a Steelcase Leap chair, which is like it's a commercial. It's like the Spaceco monitor arms. Those are commercial grade. There's like consumer grade, and then like commercial grade is like way up here. And so it's like, we're gonna send you a chair and it's gonna be amazing. And it's like I sat in one. It's not a steel case leap chair. If you have an Aeron, I could see that, maybe, okay, steel case leap chair, Aeron. I could see maybe those are things. Yeah, steel case didn't pay us crap. It just happens to be the best product. Sorry, deal with it.
All right, so how about this? If Steelcase called us and they're like, hey, we'll give you guys, like a big chunk of money that'll enable us to do a couple of documentaries or something, just, sit in our chairs. What do you know? I happen to be in a Steelcase chair right now. Just, talk about our chairs and show them off on camera. And I would probably take it because I'm like, well, I'm already sitting in a Steelcase here and one upstairs because they're the only thing that makes my back not die. I'd probably take the money.
And then you went through like 500 chairs, and I was like, dude, get a steel case. And you were like, oh. And then you got one, and you were like, holy shit.
I'm like, yeah, they're freaking $1,000. And then I realized that all these tech companies are going out of business, and they all bought Steelcase chairs. So I just started calling them up and being like, I found a Steelcase chair from a division of Microsoft that is closed. I'm probably sitting in Barnacle old Steelcase chair. Probably. He'll probably come over and be like, hey, is that the one? And he'll look at the back and be like, there's the stain. I'm like, what's that from? Never mind. This show got derailed.
Yeah, we've totally gone off rail. But hey, a lot of people have asked us, this is why we did this, and this is why we did Patreon. So here's your chance. Put up or shut up.
And I'm going to make a 2-minute video, just literally like 2 minutes, just as an overview for Patreon, coming up whenever I feel like doing it. But yeah, whenever I feel like coming into this room for a while. All right, last thing I'll mention here is our store is doing really well, and we've got these new hoodies that I want to show everybody. They're expensive, but they're freaking worth it, and I'm not going to apologize for the price because these are, they're made by Chrome. They're quality. The Chrome backpacks did so well that I decided to grab these. They've got a little spot there where you can hide your keys, a little zipper on the sleeve, which is freaking awesome. Got our logo there. It's snazzy. And then I want to mention that the hood is not one of those hoods that has one seam down the middle that gives you a pointy head. It's got a double seam, so it's a nice, it just looks nice. So got that, and then I've got a bunch of new t-shirts, and we got some new women's stuff because I keep bumping into people that are like, I wish you would make a women's version of that, PC gaming weapons shirt or the Stop Buying Apple products or whatever, And we also have we got a bunch of new stuff, but you guys should check out the store. You'll be surprised what we have coming out by the end of the year. So.
Yeah, it turns out buying t-shirts really helps us too, so... Thank you, everybody that's been buying all our crap, because it's really amazing. We're not trying to actually sell crap. It's actually reasonably good stuff.
Yeah, we keep our margins low, but luckily you guys are grabbing stuff, and that's literally the only reason that we're still in business right now, because if it was just with the ads, I'd be...
No.
I wouldn't be in business. Seriously, we wouldn't be in business anymore. I'd be done. So, yeah, thanks very much, everybody. You guys our audience is the best tech audience. That's all there is to it. They are the best. You guys are the best tech audience there is.
We might do a garage sale too, which would be really hilarious because two things that'll be in that. One is my Space Saver Model M. I want to try to get at least $1,000 for that though.
I don't know, man.
And I've got like 5 of them,
nice.
So
okay, you can part with one.
I can part with one and still be feared. And then the other thing is, if you need a Dell Blade Center, I've got 2 Dell M1000E Blade Centers with the 10 gigabit interface and matching EqualLogic PS60 6510 SANs with the 10 gigabit interface, dual controller 10s. It's over a terabyte of RAM, over 168 compute cores. Yes, it's that kind of cluster is very good at doing 3D motion graphics and things with After Effects and all that, although I've pulled all the hard drives. You can't have the hard drives, but you can have the terabyte of RAM and all the 10 gigabit interface stuff. 6 2300 watt power supplies in each Blade Center, total of 12 2300 watt power supplies. It's kind of insane. There's a thread for it on the forum.
Yep,
we're going to do a video tour of it too, so not because it's on sale, just because it's like, hey, we're going to take a look at some enterprise gear, and it's older gear, but if you want to know how to do a storage area network and compute cluster right, there's a video for you pretty soon.
Let's get down to this BMW VW nonsense. So Volkswagen, Audi, BMW, and I guess Volkswagen, BMW. If you're in Germany, everyone kept correcting me. So they've been hacking their own software. They've been using software that lies about the emissions, apparently. So the CEO of Volkswagen, he axed himself, and then a few other people are stepping down. But the bottom line here is that a lot of companies have been doing stuff like this, and so now some other ones are being looked at.
Well, let's give
So
people
the
the
BMW
background here.
Yeah.
Because what's going on is to do with emissions and like EPA in America and the EU version of the EPA, where nitrates or nitrogen and the various things that happen when you burn diesel that are bad for the environment, the car is supposed to take steps to mitigate. So the software knows when it's being tested and knows when it's being driven. And when it's being driven, it behaves differently than when it's being tested. This is down to software in the computers in the car. And so the regulatory bodies, when they test the car, show that the car are within the regulation requirements. When the car is actually being driven around, it's wildly out of regulation requirements, sometimes thousands of percentage points out of the environmental regulations. That's sort of problematic and sort of interesting. And it's like, wait. And one of the people actually on this said, oh, wow, this opaque software is not a really good building material because it can't be inspected. And the ghost of Richard M. Stallman appeared and was like, yes, exactly. So,
I mean, here's the thing. When I was over there, you have to have a diesel car because the price of oil, gas, and all that, petrol, whatever, it's insane. If you have a regular car it takes regular unleaded gas, you have to be basically rich to drive around. It's just too expensive. But diesel, we spent a couple $100 on diesel and drove all over Europe. So, and we were in diesel BMW. So they're also saying that BMW may be involved in this whole scandal thing. But no one's come out and proven anything yet. And people at BMW have released statements saying, no, we're not, no. So I'm not sure where that information is coming from. If anyone has a source that says that the BMW software is doing something similar to what Volkswagen is doing, send it to me. I'm very curious to know. I'm not driving a diesel Beamer these days, but because gas prices are cheap in the USA, and I like, this is the big thing for me is we could have been on everyone could have had an electric car by now. Everyone. And the only reason that we have diesels is because people are dying. The need for fuel efficiency is insane. People are dying because they can't buy freaking fuel. Too expensive. But, the oil companies, they won't allow us to have these electric cars. They're like, well, you know what? Well, you can have diesel. How about that? Because then you still have to draw from, then you still have to, get from us. As long as you guys, how's that? Diesel okay? And then everyone's like, all right, we'll do diesel.
The historical hindsight is we don't know exactly how bad that is. Like, we don't know exactly how much subterfuge the oil industry is putting into this. But if you would like a preview of exactly how much subterfuge the oil industry is willing to put into situations like this, you should research leaded gasoline. And when you research leaded gasoline and you find out what all the oil industry was willing to do to subvert the research that said leaded gasoline was insanely bad for everything in every way, then you can come back and you can have a conversation about what the oil, how subversive the oil industry is willing to be with various things. So, it sounds very cynical, but I would not be surprised if the oil industry has done some really, really dark, horrific things. There's also that report that came out, I think, that said Exxon in the 70s had a report that said, we've got a few years before we've got irreversible climate change in the 70s.
You guys may also want to check out, along those same lines, you guys also may want to check out a documentary called Who Killed the Electric Car that gets into some of this as well. But it's beyond the scope of what we're doing right here. Microsoft. Let's talk about this for just a minute. Microsoft. This happened like 5 minutes after we uploaded the tech. This article came out. Microsoft, they developed their own version of Linux, and the internet lost their minds. Everyone went crazy. Oh my God, Microsoft using Linux. Well, I hate to tell you guys this, but Microsoft has been using Linux for quite a while, and I can say firsthand that I know people who have been contracting for Microsoft. These are Linux experts, and that's kind of the secret, is they do not keep them on staff. The Linux personnel are contracted usually to come in and do various things, but they use Linux behind the scenes to do what Linux does best, which is
that's because the new public license is a pox upon business and it must be kept out of all Microsoft infrastructure.
But now they're using it. This is mainly for their cloud systems, and also using it for switches and stuff. I would like to get their a copy of this distro. I mean, I imagine since it's a version of Linux, you should be able to get a copy of the distro and poke around and look at it and see what they're doing here. But it'll mainly be for, Microsoft devices that they're using for their cloud systems and that sort of thing, maybe switches and all that. So it probably won't be that bulky of an installation.
It doesn't say exactly, but it seems like it's running some of the internal services on Azure. And so if that's the case, there's no GPL situation here where you could sort of compel the source code or compel a copy from Microsoft, because Microsoft hasn't given you the running product. They haven't given you the running binaries. And so a lot of people with the GPL, it's a really interesting situation. If you want to use it for your internal business purposes and modify the bejesus out of it, that's completely fine. You totally don't have to release the source code. If you sell the modified software to customers, then you have to supply them with your modified source code if they request it. So this is the situation with GPL. If Microsoft is using something with Linux that is GPL'd, would naturally be GPL'd because of their modifications. As long as they're not distributing it, they don't have to release anything. But if they are, if I can acquire an instance on Azure that's this modified version of Linux, they would absolutely have to supply the source code. But if it's just Linux running their infrastructure, they don't have to supply anything.
Now, this is going to be way out there, but I kind of want to ask this question and see what the audience thinks, and also see what you think, Wendell. I was sitting down with Microsoft people, because that's what you do when you're living in this area. You end up going and having beers with them and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, where do you work? Oh, you work at Dell, you work at Microsoft. It's just, you're at Amazon? How's the Dread Pirate Bezos doing?" They're like, "I hate my life." But everyone I've met from Amazon is like, "I hate my life." And everyone I've met at Microsoft is like, "Company's pretty groovy. I keep a fifth of whiskey in my bottom drawer, and no one says a thing to me." Even though there was an internal memo that went around saying, "Stop it," but they still do it. Anyway, I don't know any of these things. If any, all this is hypothetical, and I didn't actually hear any of these things, and I don't even know where I heard them. But someone on the inside said, imagine the next version of Microsoft down the road being Windows built on Linux. And I was like, what? And he was like, I don't know what's going on internally, but I wouldn't rule anything out. And I was like, that's absolutely crazy. He goes, yeah, maybe you're right, and took another sip of his beer. And I was like, no, why would they do that? That makes no sense. Well, that's absolutely crazy. But he was like, yeah, but I mean, everything's already done with the Linux and, the Linux community. We could just put our junk on top of it. And it's basically like the Ubuntu, with the surveillance and everything. So we just take Linux and put our surveillance on top of it, and then we'll be good. But the compatibility problem, all the programs throughout the years. But then again, you had that same problem when you jump from Windows 3.1 to 95 and whatnot. But I don't know. Do you think there's any possibility in any of Microsoft ever deciding to move their core desktop OS over to Linux? What do you think?
No, I think it's really no. It is interesting though, because Windows NT, the kernel, was based on OpenVMS, I think, or I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think Windows NT was based on a very ancient Unix, and so it shared a lot in common, and they sort of built the GUI on top of that. There's a lot of technology in Windows that actually is really impressive technology, especially like the remote procedure call around the windowing system. That's some very advanced technology that Linux is like 10 years behind on. Wayland and Mir, they're going to fix a lot of those problems, but after Wayland and Mir are quote unquote stable, it's probably going to be another 5 years before it's really there. Remote desktop, the way that it works at protocol level, is a really, really impressive piece of technology, and Apple has nothing that can touch it. Linux has a few things that can touch it in some respects, but by and large, for a graphical environment, X11 technically is that, but X11 is also an awful, awful, awful protocol. Yeah. So, and Wayland and Mir are going to do away with a lot of that, but not really. So it's really sort of bizarro land situation. I think if anything, under Tim Cook, I think that Apple might possibly, because it seems like Apple's really just abandoning their desktop operating system and they're just focusing on mobile. I think that it's possible that Apple would open source OS X. And if that happened, there would be a compatibility layer for OS X for Linux pretty much overnight. And so it's like, you want to run the Mach kernel? Whatever. Yeah, you want to run Linux as your kernel? Well, whatever. We don't care. Whatever. And as much as people drink the Apple Kool-Aid, I don't think it would really hurt Apple. It's like, oh, you can run OS 10 on anything now, but it's not the real official OS 10. As long as it's not the real official OS 10 to dilute Apple's branding, that would be what Apple's worried about. And that's the crazy thing. It's like Apple would not care about the intellectual property in OS 10. Apple would care about diluting Apple. And it's like, or making it to where you can sell Apple clones or whatever.
Well, they're really big on controlling the full user experience because they control the full user experience. They can help shape the opinions. If someone gets an Apple that's an unauthorized product or is using an unauthorized kernel or something that hasn't been tested and certified internally, then they're going to go out and be like, man, this thing sucks. And then Apple's going to be like, well, yeah, it sucks because it's not the thing that we wanted to give you. And that's why a lot of times people love their iPhones, is because the software and the hardware were made together to be perfect together and all that. Which, so you got those people out there. But if you know a little bit about what you're doing, I don't see why Apple should be able to tell anyone what they can and can't do. And in fact, their whole thing in their EULA where it says you can't install the OS on anything else, that's BS and contrary to most laws. So, like, if you want to install something on whatever you want, you should be allowed to. Yeah, you bought the damn thing. You should be able to do whatever you want with it.
I have a right to repair it, even though it's a G3, and I will make it run on modern hardware. Yeah, I don't know. But I don't think that Apple would do it. Like, Apple would do it strategically, like almost like a tactical nuclear weapon. It's like they're not going to do this because Apple really wants to improve their situation. Apple would do it just to mess with Microsoft.
I guess I'm just stretching here. I'm reaching because I'm like, I really want better support for Linux. I want a few better programs on Linux, better program. I don't care if they're paid programs or whatever. I like them to be on the better platform. More game support. I want all that on Linux. So I'm stretching and wishing here, I'm still stuck on Windows for far too many reasons. It annoys me. Yeah. My workflow is actually quite a bit more streamlined on Linux. I'm a better multitasker on Linux, but a lot of the programs I'm needing are not available on Linux. And as soon as I finish this latest album, I'm going to try FL Studio. I'm just a little bit worried about some of my VSTs, especially the ones that I've purchased. And when you guys hear the album, note that most of the differences in this album and the last album, I went out and spent a chunk of change on buying some virtual instruments that I hate to say it, but the ones when you spend the money, you get what you pay for. The new instruments, even some of the new 8-bit instruments are top notch. So yeah, look for that album coming out. Oh, I'm going to make the official announcement right now. The new album's coming out on October, I think 30th, Halloween, 30th, 31st, whenever that is. I don't know. I don't celebrate Halloween, but I'll release the album on Halloween. That'll be fun, for all you spooky kids out there. Let's move on. Talk about something else that's kind of spooky. Coinbase. So Coinbase is one of the nicest Bitcoin exchanges or markets or whatever out there. I guess it's a Bitcoin marketplace. Now, they decided that they want to pretty much own the idea of Bitcoin. So they've filed a number of patents, like hot wallets for holding your Bitcoins, private key control. Just look at all this stuff here. Instant exchange, personal vaults, sending Bitcoin to email address. So instead of having to send it to the long number, just being able to send it to an email address, they're trying to patent that. They're trying to patent the idea of a Bitcoin exchange. So if they were to do this, they would be the only official Bitcoin exchange. And then that would be like a bank saying, like, we are going to be the only place that you can store money, and we want to patent that. And then all of a sudden, we only have one bank. That's
wow.
This is, I had money in Coinbase, and I pulled it out immediately. So I'm closing my account. I'm done with it. It's messed up. That is totally mad. They're saying, here's their defense. They're saying, well, we're doing this because we're worried that some bigger companies are going to start, doing this. So we want to patent it first. And they're promising that, listen, we're never going to enforce this. If we see a smaller company, a smaller startup or something that's doing these things, we'll never enforce it. So don't worry about it, guys. We're only worried about the big players patenting the same things. Now, while I don't want to see a big player patent these things, like I don't want to see Barclays Bank or whatever patenting these things, the fact is, Coinbase, they're pretty much now in the pockets of VCs. They've received millions and millions and millions of venture capital money. So Whatever they say, I don't care. What I want to know is, what are the VCs going to demand? If the VCs need money, they're going to start making some demands, and Coinbase is going to have no choice but to do exactly what they say. They sold their soul.
So, for those of you in the EU, software patents no longer matter. So,
must be nice.
We're pretty close in the U.S. A couple of Supreme Court rulings. We're pretty close to software patents basically not mattering in the U.S. either.
What is this monkey? Is he a mascot for something?
I think this is just a Google image search for evil monkey. This is probably on the first page of results.
I kind of want to. I want that. I want to own that thing, but then I won't know where to put it. So never mind.
Yeah,
all right.
Put it in the background of the set. Meanwhile, it's evilly possessing all the hardware, and it's like, well, I want anything post. It's like, oh yeah, evil monkey, error code EO1.
Oh god, he's going to be an unlockable character in the next some video game that's cool, Street Fighter 5 or something, Mortal Kombat 70. Is that what we're on now? Mortal Kombat 70? You guys tell me. I want to know right now. It's 10, I think. 10, you said, in the hallway? 10? 11.
No,
9.
10.
999. 10.
Mortal Kombat 9 geriatric edition. It's just old people hitting each other with walkers.
Mortal Kombat XD6. X. It's Mortal Kombat X. When someone walks into your store when you're working at GameStop and they say, "Can I have Mortal Kombat X?" How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel that you work at GameStop? Why are you watching this if you work at GameStop? Hello, one person who works at GameStop.
It's like Scorpion just can't do the fatality anymore because he's got real bad arthritis.
Bissell just stuck her head in the room and she was like, "Hey, I used to watch this when I worked at GameStop. Now everyone knows the dark secret of Pistol's past. She worked at GameStop, and she was forced to sell magazines to people who don't want magazines."
You heard it here first.
Unless you already knew her, then never mind. Disney, they're going to invest $65 million to help make virtual reality movies the next thing. So they're throwing some money at Jaunt, and Jaunt has a 360-degree camera. $65 million is not enough to make a movie, so it's not a huge investment in future technologies, but it's enough for them to, I guess that they're saying like, hey, if these things are going to be in everyone's house, we want to be in on this from the ground floor. So this is not money that's going to be used to make a narrative movie or anything like that, or a documentary or whatever. It's not going to be used specifically for that. It's for the development of this technology. So yeah, watching movies in 3D. And I think they already have some movies out there in 3D, but I don't think they're safe for kids. Of course, that was like the first thing that happened with this stuff.
Well, no, the Google phones, like the Moto X, that have the really good accelerometer, Google's got a bunch of demo movies that are 360-degree movies. Most of them are animations, but there are a few live-action ones. Those are really cool because you look through your phone, like almost like it's a viewfinder, but as you move around, it's changing the scene on the phone. And so, like, if you sort of hold it up, hold your phone up in front of you and look around, it's using the accelerometer so that you're looking through your phone like a viewfinder in a 360-degree scene. And those things, I don't know that I would, it's really neat, but I don't know that you would really get the same cinematic experience with that. I think that you're going to need a little bit more movie making, and maybe with the goggles strapped to your head where you can't look away from your phone. But it was just kind of exhausting, trying to do a 10 or 15 minute movie, looking around with your phone and dealing with that. So I can't imagine, like an hour and a half, 2 hour cinematic with something like that.
I think the way that may make this work is you sit, and you can sit in one spot. You don't need to like rotate around and see what's going on behind you. And you watch the movie and you see things around the room, and like you can, like, if you hear a door open, you can like turn your head a little bit and see someone coming into the scene to do whatever. But after let's say, like, if you really love the movie, or if it's like a movie like, I don't know, Star Wars 70 or whatever thing is that's cool and develops a cult following. You ever watch the movie, and instead of watching the foreground, you just turn around and watch the background. Maybe there's some Easter eggs back there or something. I don't know. Maybe it'll be something like that. I think the thing that I'm kind of looking forward to, animated features using 3D engines like the Unreal Engine, or maybe possibly one generation newer than that, because those engines look about as good as like Toy Story 1. If you look back in time and look at that, you're like, damn, those movies, we've come a long way as far as even our 3D movies go, stuff that's pre-rendered. But being able to render that kind of stuff live, maybe you could sit there if you have a decent enough graphics card and watch a movie that's done in the engine. And that would also open up some pretty cool doors for indie filmmakers who, maybe don't have enough money to do crazy rendering and stuff, but know how to use the Unreal Engine. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but maybe it could happen. I'm not sure if it will, but I think I'd rather play an adventure game like that,
And remember, by the time we get to Unreal Engine 50, you're going to be able to sit down and strap on the goggles and watch Lord of the Rings with every cast character being Danny DeVito.
It's like everyone is like this weird looking Hobbit thing. What is this? Is that Danny DeVito? No, it's a weird looking Hobbit thing. All the characters are weird looking Hobbit things. Let's talk about the other things that Walt Disney. This is a past tense article, but I'll let you get into this one. Walt Disney was helping out the FBI just a little bit.
Yeah, we thought this was interesting because this is the 50s. I think this was 1955, and so this is Walt Disney's FBI
55.
file. You guys should all go read that. Not because of the whole tinfoil hat thing or anything like that. We just mentioned it because of the whole Walt Disney Movies thing. But Walt Disney was working on Tomorrowland, and the whole FBI involvement thing was basically like, we're against communism. We're running this massive PR campaign. We're doing all this surveillance and all this other stuff. Will you help us with that? And Walt Disney was like, oh yeah, totally. I'll absolutely help you. I just want you guys to go look at that, to know what we were doing in the 50s, to set some context for what we might be doing today.
I think a lot of this here in this article, they're trying to normalize the idea of FBI being there, law enforcement being a part of just everyday life. They're trying to normalize that for the kids, to get them used to the FBI being around, or get them used to the idea of surveillance or whatever. This is way back when, but kind of interesting. Got to normalize the people and do it early.
It is interesting in the context of modern conversations about privacy and the internet and law enforcement's role and encryption. And encryption as a tool for enforcing freedom of the press. Encryption is the ultimate tool for anonymity and execution, but it can't be unless it's very widespread, because the use of anonymity, or the use of encryption in a sea of encryption, you're not going to stand out. The use of encryption in a sea of nothing that's encrypted, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And free speech is a really important thing to safeguard. You don't want to be harassed. Think about like McCarthy and all the other stuff. And so this is really interesting that an agency that has the word investigation in its name is interested in PR things, public relations things. Marketing is at its fundamental level a form of manipulation. So why is this a thing?
I wonder, thinking about the normalization thing, I wonder if when you're born, each person is assigned like a dude with jack boots, and he just hangs out with you all the time. You go to the bathroom, he comes in, just hangs out, maybe clicks around on his phone. But he's always with you. I wonder if, by the time you're old, that would be just a normal thing, and he would almost be invisible to you. I wonder.
There were cartoons in the 80s that made fun of that in Russia. It was like, in Soviet Russia, Gestapo follows you. And so, sort of growing up, it's very, very weird, just because it's like, in the 80s, it's like, no, this is very bad in Russia. And it's like, wait, I see it happening in America, and they told us that was bad when it was in Russia. So what's going on?
Well, you see, it's bad in Russia because the Russians are the bad guys. But when we do it, it's fine because we're the good guys. You see, that's how we can do anything we want. We're the good guys. We can blow up anybody. We're the good guys, right? Right? Right?
It's just
we're the good guys, right?
Not anything related to the tech, but or technology or anything. But I was reading about I think it was Gorbachev. And he went to a supermarket, like he was in DC and he was doing stuff, and then just randomly he's like, let's go to a supermarket. And so he went to a supermarket, and it was like, a Kroger type thing where there's just aisles and aisles of food and all the, the 17 kinds of Salisbury steak. And he went in and he was just blown away. And like the thing said that like when he got on the plane after that, he was just despondent because it's like, we have bread lines in Russia. I don't know what's going on. And that's what him going to the grocery store in America is what led to him leaving the Communist Party.
Wow. I can't even imagine how this must feel for the people in Venezuela. If you guys are down there in Venezuela watching, I don't feel your pain. I don't understand your pain, but it makes me angry that you're going through your stuff. But it's similar to the whole breadline thing, but it possibly is even worse down there right now. So it brought that to mind.
Yeah,
So
they may not have bread lines in in Venezuela, but
I think no, it's
the quote
actually
was,
worse right now. Like in Venezuela, the reports are that people are waiting hours and hours and hours in line just to get like a bag of milk and some bread and stuff. And you have to go back multiple times a week, and it's weird. Everyone's given a number, and you can go on. If you have a certain number, you have to go on a certain day to help keep the lines down. If you show up early to try to get in line first, you get detained for 24 hours. Like they have
wow.
actually have the cops come out. It's a rough situation down there, but I'm sure a lot of the world is ignoring it. I don't think it's something that has anything to do with the tech this week, but it's interesting to look at from a global perspective and see what the hell's going on down there. And we could probably get into that if people wanted us to, but it's more political than anything.
Yeah, and Gorbachev was saying, even Yeltsin doesn't have a choice of 17 different kinds of Salisbury steak. That's just, it wasn't Salisbury steak, but it was some kind of food.
Yeah.
It's like, even Boris Yeltsin doesn't have the choice here. This is sort of a thing. So I don't know. It's hard to have a world perspective sort of growing up with all that, and I'm sure it's frustrating because all of our media is filtered, and the internet is the least filtered thing that we have, and we've got to work to protect that somehow. I think is the technology theme with that.
Speaking of protecting things, Lenovo has installed more spyware. So we're going to help you guys protect yourselves by saying stop buying Lenovo crap. That's like our next shirt. Stop buying Lenovo products. Like this is obnoxious.
I'll share my little anecdotal story. I couldn't pass it up. They had an i5, a Lenovo something or other, the transformer thing. It was on sale. It was an i5. It was like $480 because it was on sale. And so I was like, I can't pass this up because family and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, all right, I'm going to buy this. It's going to be great. 6 gigs of RAM. It was the i5. It had a mechanical hard drive, but that's easy enough to replace with an SSD. That was the only really bad thing about it. But it was the i5 with 6 gigs of RAM. This is a really good deal. User replacement memory. Yeah, checked it out. Oh, it totally had Superfish. Totally had all the stuff. All the stuff that they said, we got rid of it. It's not there anymore. It was totally still there. So it's like, and it had not been the Windows event log was really old, but in terms of like the UEFI and the initialization, in terms of like the first modified file time after the system was imaged was only about 3 months ago. So yeah, that's completely insane because we were talking about that stuff, I think almost a year ago. So yeah, those production images still have all that crap.
Well, this is something that's not. This is not the Superfish. It's something different. It's called the Lenovo Customer Feedback Program 64. Yeah. I'm not sure what
it's another different thing. It's the same.
And it basically is tracking what you're doing and sending it to them so that they can sell your data. That's what they're doing right now. I don't even, if they're doing this, they should be giving away the laptops for free. That's what they should do. It should be Lenovo. You guys should be like, listen, we are going to install stuff up your butt and give you a free laptop. What do you think? How about it? You want to do it? How about it? This is Lenovo. How about it? You want to do it? Why do they talk like that? Why do they move like that? I don't trust them. They're snakes. That's why they move.
And I'll just mention that Ubuntu runs great on Chromebooks, most of them.
Installing Linux is actually a pretty decent solution for this kind of crap because even if they have a rootkit installed, it's made for Windows. It's not going to, work, or like the Superfish is not going to work with Linux. So just get them and wipe them, install Linux, and then whatever. Or don't buy them in the first place. I'm really setting a bad example here. People are going to go out and buy cheap ones now.
I just thought it was a good deal. I was like,
yeah.
I'm a sort of a stickler for good deals. It's why I get crazy monitors from Korea and order stuff from Chinese language websites and whatnot.
Yeah, gotta admit, when I go over there, I'm always thinking. Well, I think when I go over there, I'm like, there's all this interesting stuff here, and it's like $10. I want to get 1,000 of them and bring them back to America to show everyone. Yeah. Hey, look, you guys can have.
Look at this amazing thing that I found.
Yeah, it's like the best. It's like the best gaming sensor, and the mouse is only $20. Why do they have
me
that?
those? I've got the GH3 now, which is why my footage has gotten better. And you got me those lenses that were totally just imported from China, and those lenses were amazing. Yeah. And they cost like a third of what they cost here, so it's kind of like, this is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, we grabbed some Samyang lenses over there. They're Korean, actually. They're made in Korea lenses. They're very good lenses. And if you guys look online, you'll see the Rokinon lenses. They're the same thing, but if you buy them over there, they're Samyangs. So
See, you
I don't
guys,
know.
all this, the ad money and the tech support money that you guys are generating for us, we're not spending it frivolously. We're spending really conservatively.
I'm gonna be like Josh Fierstein, if you guys know who that is, and I'm gonna do a campaign to get like a whole new camera setup, and then after I hit my goal, I'm gonna shoot everything on a cell phone. The internet scandal that some people may know about. Moving right along then. Okay, let's do a quick mention. Bosch, well, they're making some awesome solid state batteries that'll double the life of cars, which is still not enough to me, but hey, cool.
Okay, this is a good article. We're going to mention this article
Okay.
because this is how you recognize. Pay attention here. It's learning time. This article is designed to manipulate the stock market. That's its sole purpose in life. It serves no other purpose other than to try to drive Tesla's stock down. And I'm probably being paranoid, but the reality here is you look at it and it's like, oh, they're going to store it in some kind of electrolyte and it's going to be fine. Oh, you have to heat the battery to 178 degrees. This is not actually new technology. Like when you dive into it, it's like, oh, there's actually some stuff here. There's a really amazing battery for storing hydrogen. It stores hydrogen great, but you've got to heat it. But that's actually one of the things that makes it safe. So if you're going to wreck or something, it's like, oh, the hydrogen battery can't wait to explode. Well, no, there's a hydrogen battery that you have to heat it. And so when the car's in a wreck, the heating mechanism basically shuts down and the hydrogen is safely contained, even if you grind the battery into a fine powder, because it's not heated, it won't release the hydrogen. This isn't the same thing. This is the electrical version instead of the hydrogen version for hydrogen cars or whatever. But with all the advances in lithium ion technology and the Elon Musk battery plant coming online, and lithium ions never been a better time or whatever, you're going to see a lot of this kind of article talking about alternative battery technologies. And this one, because it actually says in the article, well, we can't actually commercialize it yet. That's code for this is 2 to 3 years away on the fast track, probably 5 years away, unless they have, 100 million plus of venture capital. So there you go.
Maybe I should buy some stock in Bosch instead.
Yeah, look for we'll short it or something maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna mess around with it. But what I do, man, I really want one of these. Actually, I want the Intel, but Samsung's 950, the Pro M.2 SSD. So they've got the NVMe going. So they got the fancy non-volatile memory host controller. So that's a little bit different than the HCI. HCI was designed for like spinning platters, and it's just nice to see that there's a lot of memory coming out. This is PCI Express 3.0. And so using that host controller with their fancy memory modules that they're putting on there, they're able to achieve, where's the numbers here? 200, was it
2,500?
2,500 megabytes a second. That's pretty nice.
That's a little
Pretty
faster
nice
than the Intel 750, and it's 1.5 gigabytes per second on the write speed.
I just love the M.2 form factor. Form factor. It is. They should start calling it the M.2 form factor. You guys got that marketing term for me. I also have various other marketing terms, like, I don't know, I'll make some up later. all those words that they put things together, like, I don't know, a Amera blower, and that's like a hand dryer in the bathroom, made in America, the Amera blower. They put just any marketing company, they just put these two stupid words together and make something like that. Never mind.
Well, this is the successor to the 951. The 951 we never actually got our hands on, but I got to play with one briefly, and it gets insanely hot when it's writing, like hotter than the surface of the sun. Not really, but hot enough that it makes me uncomfortable, and hot enough that a large OEM reported that when they were building systems with these, they'd actually have to install aftermarket heat sinks on the 951, even in cases that had pretty good airflow over the M.2 areas, just because the 951 got so hot. So this is the 950. It's a Samsung thing. You got to take everything Samsung with a little bit of a grain of salt, because Samsung's got the whole marketing thing down pat. I really hope we get to take a look at one of these and see what it is. The Intel NVMe options for both the M.2 and PCI Express don't actually fit in an M.2 slot. It's an adapter. So you've got the M.2 to U.2 adapter. That goes to the 2.5-inch form factor. That's basically PCI Express, but through a SATA looking connector, but it's not really SATA, or serial attached SCSI, like the mini serial attached SCSI connector is what it looks like, but it's actually carrying PCI Express signals. Or PCI Express is just straight up PCI Express. So the one that we got with the Skylake box is just straight up PCI Express, not a convenient M.2 form factor. and that's a
And
big difference.
And I mean, they've got the new DCP P3608 coming out. God, the speeds on this thing, ridiculous. Look at this. Look at this.
Now, the reality with the Intel 750 is that for a single-threaded benchmark, it's really not it does 600, 700 megabytes per second, which is about what we were seeing from the Plextor M.2 SSDs. The difference is that the Intel 750 can handle about 3 to 4 threads concurrently, with it topping out at about 2.2 gigabytes per second, because it's got a crap load of chips and the controller has a crap load of channels. This is Samsung operating on bleeding edge flash technology as opposed to Intel. Intel's strategy is really from the data center, so it's tried and true, super stable, super reliable, and Intel's NVMe offerings are more enterprise and super stable, and Samsung's are more, we want the fastest, bleedingest edge technology ever, whereas Intel's a lot more conservative. And so that's the difference between the two, and that's also why the Intel ones are the size of bricks in comparison.
Let's check out this floating city. This is a very interesting plan to help expand some of the cities that are experiencing. They're cramping up right now. You know, like places like Hong Kong, they're on the water, and I mean even Manhattan, it's on the water, and there's really not a lot of extra room to build, and the population density is getting out of control. So, a Dutch firm called Blue 21 decided that they've built like facilities that float before, but now they're like, you know what, we can take our technology and our ideas and put them together and make a city that floats, just moving stuff onto the water. Looks pretty wild here, and I mean, this is going to be something far in the future, but there's loads and loads of benefits from doing something like this. Number one, it's not as susceptible to different types of natural disasters because it's actually floating on the water. So there's that. You've got your veggies, crops, algae, and stuff like that. You got biofuel. It's just it looks to me, I mean, from their charts are always going to be 100% positive. So I'm trying to think of what would be the big negatives of building a floating city, other than the fact that as soon as you do something, you always have someone trying to tear it down. And I wonder how difficult it would be to sink a floating city. That's always the first thing I think about is like, well, you got to think of what could be the consequences of doing such a thing. And yeah, floating city, let's have a bunch of idiots trying to sink the floating city. Maybe that's what happened to Atlantis. It was a floating city and somebody just sank it. Could have been anywhere in that case. It was a city that was floating, but it wasn't attached to anything. This is all true, guys. This is all true.
It's floating city is good. It'll survive earthquakes really well. Tsunami, not so much.
Yeah, tsunami might mess that up. I mean, I guess would a tsunami carry the entire floating city into the other city, and then it would be like, cue the song When Worlds Collide?
No. It would probably just cause a lot of very bad things to happen.
Yeah.
See, first the water levels would rise, so that would be bad. And then the wave will come, and then it's pretty much the same situation on land.
Yeah, but I imagine they have to have figured that out. There's no way that you can put together design documents for a floating city without taking into account hurricanes, tsunamis, and other sorts of natural disasters. They're
Hurricanes
saying
are probably okay because it's just storm surge. There's probably a thing in the document that says, oh, by the way, don't build this where a tsunami can occur. So make sure that we put it in a geologically stable area. So I think that's why some of the artwork here looks like it's just off the coast of Manhattan. Maybe that's what some of this is. I'm not sure.
Some of it looks like that. I'm not sure exactly what they're modeling here, though. I don't know. That's not exactly. Manhattan doesn't have that big bay area right there. So I don't think this is Manhattan. I don't know. It's the coast of New Jersey. I don't think it's. I don't know.
I don't know.
No idea. Singapore? I don't know.
We got any?
Who knows where that is?
I don't even know what type of scientist to ask if they're in the audience in order to answer the question for us. So if you're a scientist that has the appropriate skill for this, then let us know. Let's build a city on the Arctic ice. That'll last, right?
Yeah, that'll be. Oh God. Yeah, it'd be a great idea. Maybe Jeb Bush and his buddies can build it.
I saw somebody saying it's like, oh, it's not man-made climate change; it's just climate change. And it's like, Okay, let's think about this. The sun has allowed plants to capture carbon from the air. By the way, trees come from the air because you probably didn't know that if you're thinking that way.
Go watch some Feynman videos and you'll figure it out.
Trees come from the air. They eventually turn into coal and other sort of basically pure carbon or nearly pure carbon compounds. And so carbon in the air goes into carbon in a solid brick. And then in order to get that solar energy out of it, or the energy that originated from that in the form of solar and then later compression, we burn it. And so we take the solid thing and we convert it back into a gas. Trees convert the gas back into a solid at a much slower rate than we are burning it. Ergo, the environment is changing at a very rapid pace.
So, whenever you
Exxon's
light a
got the
fire,
research on that.
whenever you light a fire using wood, that light that's coming from that's from the sun.
The energy from that is
energy from,
it really
right from the
is.
sun. If you guys, I mean, just saying a few things like this, people are going to watch this and be like, okay, that's it. These guys are absolutely out of their minds. They're crazy. Yeah, just go watch a couple Feynman videos because we don't have enough time to sum up that entire concept, but we're right. It's just,
the back of the envelope calculation. There are less trees today than there have been historically, which would take up the carbon from the air. We are consuming things that contain carbon and converting them from solids into gases at a record rate. You can literally do that math on the back of an envelope.
All right, let's talk about teleportation. How about that? If we're not crazy enough already, let's talk about teleportation. So what they did, they teleported a human and a pig together, and on the other end, they got something from the island of Dr. Moreau. No, that's not what happened at all. So the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they partnered up, but they've been working together for a long time with Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation, otherwise known as the NTT. So they were able to they quadrupled the distance for the record of entanglement. That's pretty crazy, over 100 kilometers. And they did so using some new fancy stuff. They had to basically create some new technology because only about 1% of the data that was transferred over that long distance. And right now, whenever you're doing entanglement, you still have to be able to, and it still has to be line of sight or line of laser, or at least, it still has to be like that. But you still have, you have two particles on either end, which are essentially the same particle, and you mess with one, you mess with the other. Implications are going to be for, maybe down the road, some sort of data transfer. Maybe the Ansible. Maybe they're going to figure out the Ansible. But this is not going to be applicable outside of the quantum world just yet. But for bits of data, maybe? I don't know. Maybe for the encryption and that sort of thing, you could create the unbreakable encryption, they're saying. I don't know. But you have to have really fancy equipment to be able to detect the signal because it's so weak. But they did it.
The implications, there's a really nice infographic here that explains the experiment pretty completely. There's a lot of research right now around, so it would be really nice if we can have really, really, really long runs of fiber without having to have a lot of repeaters, or if we do have to have a lot of repeaters and a lot of really crazy fiber optic cable, that we can put an insane amount of information on a single fiber optic cable. So this experiment actually has implications for both. If we are able to use quantum channels for dealing with information, the information is not going to get there any faster, but we will have another channel in order to deal with error correction and sort of filling in the gaps as far as the data goes. And so with the classical limitations of this 100-kilometer long fiber optic cable mean that there's a really weak signal, not very much of it actually, like in terms of the number of photons that go from A to B, not a lot of photons make it there. But with the photons that do make it there, maybe we can encode the information in such a way that the quantum components of the stuff that make it there can actually convey information. So the whole conservations, like information is still not traveling faster than the speed of light, holds true, but we're able to sort of deal with the massive losses that are incurred on this type of fiber optic cable in terms of the actual photons that carry the information making it there. So because we've basically entangled some photons, and that's what's happening over the 100-kilometer distance. And so we'll see.
There's a lot of really interesting things going on in science this week. This is the implications on this one are really crazy. So bunch of researchers from the University of Minnesota, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Princeton University, and Johns Hopkins got together and they figured out how to do some 3D printing that allowed nerves to regrow. They essentially 3D printed a scaffold. That's just, I'm going to make this as basic as possible. And they affixed it to like the sciatic nerve area in a mouse that could not walk. And they did so. They connected it to like the nerve ends. They added some chemicals that it needed to grow. Basically, hey, this is like gardening. It's like they fertilized it, put up a scaffolding, and then the nerves regrew. And the mouse could walk again. Can I get a hallelujah? Implications for this are pretty awesome. I mean, imagine if they're able to 3D print a lattice for, nerve tissue, for people who have experienced nerve damage, for people who are paralyzed and that sort of thing due to nerve damage. They could possibly fix it with something like this. And it's already worked in a rat. Poor rats. Man, they're used. But hey, it's for our betterment. Yeah. That's cool. I don't have much else to say about that other than it's pretty freaking cool. They've got a video down here. You guys can watch it happen.
3D printing a scaffolding for nerves seems like a good way to go for that, because nerves otherwise don't really have enough information in order to heal to connect, sort of A to B. Mm-hmm. So if the scaffolding contains all the chemicals and stuff to sort of help regrow the connections between, where the damage has occurred. So will it be a situation where it's like everything is exactly according to the way that it was? No, probably not. It's going to be like situations where they, disconnect a nerve from one place and reconnect it somewhere else, or sort of graft it and hope that it grows. It's like you'll probably still have some limitation in function, but this technique offers the promise of a higher level of functioning and a better level of repair, because the better the 3D resolution becomes in the printing, the more you'll be able to capitalize on your own ability to heal, because you're sort of directing how the nerves grow or connect or whatever.
So, the technology in the medical world is really coming along. And, we're going to have bionics soon. We're going to have implants soon. We're going to have, like I said, in Switzerland, they're working on making the software better for the brain-controlled prosthesis devices and that sort of thing. Prosthetic devices is what I should have said. Let's take this a step farther. And there are some people out there who are saying that human physicians, they're going to be obsolete. They're going to be replaced by sensors, robots, and a totally new system that is mostly hands-off. So this is down the road a little bit. And, they already have computers out there that are justifying their claims here. They're like, hey, listen, we already have computers out there that can read emotions and body language and that sort of thing. So
Watson.
Being able to, Watson can do a lot of that.
IBM is already receiving a substantial amount of money from the insurance industry to have Watson look over people's insurance claims and records and things to try to figure out who to drop, I guess. I don't know what the insurance companies are doing with it other than that. But in terms of like clinical tests and things like that, Watson has done really well at diagnosing patients, even patients that doctors had not yet diagnosed, based on their test results and other data in their medical chart, in terms of like, oh, this person's got this thing, and oh, this person has this incredibly rare thing, and oh, this person probably has these two diseases, and maybe their doctor doesn't know. There's a lot of really interesting stuff out there. It's been kind of quiet the last year or two, but IBM has picked up a lot of customers that are using Watson, which is its sort of platform that does exactly what's being described in the article here. So it'll be interesting, 5 or 10 or 15 years. I'd say probably some national chain of hospitals will actually probably roll out Watson as like a consulting basis, where physicians, like, they roll it out to their web portal or whatever, and then physicians would actually consult with Watson on diagnosis and things like that. It'll lower their insurance rates, probably improve customer satisfaction. The first hospital to figure that out, probably gonna franchise.
And they'll have a monopoly on their hands. I don't know. I think the technology is big enough that a lot of different places can do it. And for some of you guys out there who are like, this is ridiculous. We need humans to have hands on, we need humans to put their hands on people. We already have some technologies that seem kind of fringe right now, but imagine before the computer thing even happens, you can go into a doctor's office. It's pretty much empty, and then like have a voice tell you, go over and pick up the thing on the table. And you pick it up, and it sends a frequency into your hand. It reads the frequency that it gets back, and then it can tell a lot about your body. And these things already exist. There's German equipment, there's Chinese pieces of equipment that can already diagnose many things just by you picking up, something in your hand, holding it, and then it reading the responses to the frequencies that it puts into your hand. That's science. It works. It's not like voodoo or anything weird like that. That stuff's already out there. So taking it a step further in the 20 years in the future, we may have tricorders that can do that stuff from across the room. You walk in there, the thing scans you. It's like, oh, you have this wrong. Hey, there's something right there. Let's operate immediately. What do you say? Plop on the table. A buzzsaw comes out of the ceiling. Great plot for a horror movie. All right. There is?
Yeah.
It's one of those in
Like
Stasis.
walk in and it just detects. Also,
Have you guys played the game Stasis yet?
The suit you're wearing also detects what's wrong with you.
That's going to happen. There's a game called Stasis that's out, and it's already predicting the future. I haven't played it yet. I got the game on Good Old Games. Isometric
I
game.
hope it's not predicting the future.
It's predicting the future. But yeah, machines are operating on people, and your suit tells you if you're healthy or not. Then maybe that'll be it. Maybe you'll buy a nice pair of clothes, and it's like, dude, you have got a cold. You shouldn't have gone and done whatever you did because now you got a cold. All right. How about brain implants? So back in around 2008, they found that about 15% of people, or it was probably lower than that, I think it was a small number of people. Where's the 11%? There we go. 2008, they did a poll. 11% of people were like okay with the idea of a brain implant to get like internet access or just, I don't know, whatever. And now it's about 25% of the 1,000 adults that were polled in this said, yeah, I'll take a brain implant. I don't know. I kind of want a brain implant, but I want it for like modules, like, hey, I really want to know Chinese and German right now, or Mandarin for you pedantic asshats out there. I really want to know Mandarin and I want to know German right now. Can I just download it? That's what I would want it for, but having a brain implant that I didn't make myself would kind of weird me out. I don't know. You just wonder, like, well, who else is in there listening? What is going on in my brain? And then I would, be sitting in the corner going, what's happening to me? And that sort of thing.
And then later it's like, I have the strangest craving for bacon and eggs. I don't understand. It's like Edward Bernays is in your mind.
I'm always craving Bernays sauce, whatever that is. Yeah.
That's spelled different.
I need it on everything. I put it in my milkshakes now. It's so good.
and then pretty soon you're going to be wanting to encourage women to smoke. It's just going to be bad.
You should smoke. I smoke. Do you smoke? Where's that coming from? There's a parasite that lives in my neck. That tells me what to do.
Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
That's why I'm going to go to Mars. That's why you guys need to give us money for Patreon so we can go to Mars. That's what it's all about. That's the facade. Like we're pretending like we're going to be good and make content for the community. No, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm going to Mars. And when I get there, I'm going to eat a sandwich. That's my plans. What are your plans? So anyway, Elon Musk, this is all true. Elon Musk, he wants to send 1 million people to Mars. He said that's what it's going to take. And he wants to charge them $500,000 a piece. So he not only wants people who want to go to Mars, he wants people to front the bill. But he's like, listen, a lot of you guys are thinking $500,000 is a lot of money, but you've got to sell all your crap. You're not going to have any worldly possessions anymore. Just sell all your stuff, get rid of it all. And I still think that the $500,000 mark is going to keep it small. I mean, how many people with enough money to go to Mars are going to want to spend all their money on a trip there? I don't know. Maybe do you guys want to go to Mars?
Maybe this is like some kind of backdoor Elon Musk thing. Like Elon Musk sees how bad the gulf is between the 99% and the 1%, and this is his plan. It's like get the 99% on Mars, and then the meek will inherit the Earth.
What is he, John the Baptist or something?
Yeah.
Elon the Baptist or Elon the... I don't even know.
It's kind of funny because, the situation, it's literally, well, it's either that or the rich people are going to send their problem asshat children to Mars.
Do you want to go live on Mars in a cold military camp and grow stuff in a tube? Is that what you want? Well, keep it up. Keep it up. Keep
Little
smoking
Jimmy's got
weed.
his 12th DUI, so he's either got to go to jail or he's got to go to Mars. Whichever one. It's like, all right, Mars will be like a penal colony for rich, spoiled children. That might actually make an interesting planet.
I want to be a fly on the wall when the mother is, angry and she's seriously saying things like, "Do you want to go to Mars, young man?" But she's serious. I want to be there. I want to see this thing. I want to watch it happen. Anyway, we need a lot of people up there. We've talked about the whole thing. It's still not 100% feasible yet.
I also worry about the psychological healthiness of, I would totally be one of the people that would think that Mars is interesting. I don't know if I could commit to living out the rest of my life there. And people that would really jump on board with that, being, it's like, if you're going to live there with those people, they might be crazy. And there's a whole other dimension there. So
you got a red planet full of rich sociopaths who want to be the main reason they're there is so that they can be the first to do something. I don't know. I need trees. I can't do it. I need trees. I have to have. This is
not a lot different than how Scientology started, except instead of going to Mars, the guy bought a boat. It was like, let's everybody go on the boat. Let's everybody go to Mars. It's not a lot different. Actually, $500,000 is probably a steal compared to what the people in Scientology pay.
Elon Musk, he's already working on the Battlefield Mars book, Just I don't know. It's Elon Musk starting a religion, maybe. That's his goal all along. Let's move on. More Mars stuff. So these little green microbes, we're probably running long here, but this is probably one of the keys to having a successful colony and also maybe terraforming Mars, because this stuff can survive in really extreme environments, and this is some of the stuff that helped turn the Earth into the Earth. So it's an interesting read if you're curious about all the Mars stuff. So, all right.
I met Dr. Robert Zerbin many years ago. He has some really good lectures on going to Mars and terraforming Mars and that kind of thing. And we talked about nuclear weapons to terraform Mars last week. But I think Dr. Robert Zerbin, one of his things for dealing with Mars was exactly this kind of thing, cyanobacteria and this kind of thing that are available on Earth with a little bit of genetic modification would really probably thrive on Mars. And within, a couple of 100 years, could actually transform Mars into something more habitable than it is. Now, Mars is probably never going to have a really thick atmosphere like Earth, and it's probably always going to be treacherous because of the lack of a magnetosphere and, deadly cosmic radiation and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But,
and also the gravity is not something we evolved to deal with different. It probably wouldn't be that bad.
We'll probably have to live underground because underground, the shielding would be pretty good. The dust on Mars is not as lethal as the dust on the moon because we were going to, we got some plans for living on the moon, under the surface of the moon for the whole radiation protection. So anything that we can do to introduce an ecosystem and life to Mars in terms of colonization is good. Literally anything that we can do there.
Now let's talk about some video games. Minecraft has been announced for the Minecraft VR, I guess VR Minecraft or whatever, but I think that's actually... I haven't played that much Minecraft. I think I would actually play this version, but I'm afraid that Microsoft is going to do something to ruin it, like make it Xbox, make it part of the Xbox thing or something. So it sounds cool, and then it sounds terrible at the same time. I don't want Microsoft to be messing with Minecraft.
So wait, is Microsoft coming out with a VR version of Minecraft on the Oculus before Microsoft's HoloLens?
Yeah, it's going to be two different things because the HoloLens is augmented reality, and Minecraft is not really made for augmented reality. It's made to.
That was one of their demos. They demoed that on the thing. There was a thing, and they were like, "Look at me, I'm Minecrafting in my HoloLens." Those bastards.
Yeah, but the real experience of Minecraft is you're in a complete world. You're not in your own world. So, I think that was a cool demo they threw together, but I don't even know if I can see them fully developing that. Maybe they'll make like a Microsoft Lego cooperation game where you can build stuff on your desk and all that with the HoloLens. But I don't know. Someone at Microsoft, are they making? If you don't hate me, are they making Minecraft for the HoloLens? I don't know.
Microsoft and their fake demos. I will never forgive them for the whole Courier tablet faked demo. And if you don't know what that is, you should Google Microsoft Courier tablet demo. And thanks to the people that are keeping that on the internet, it's like, that will not be memory hold. We will not forget Microsoft.
All right, this is probably my favorite thing of the week. This is something I actually nerd out about. There are very few things that I am geeky. I'm 99% nerdy about things. I'm geeky in just a few areas, but I like Star Trek. That's something that, and if you guys want to know why I'm saying geek versus nerd, I feel like nerds are more in the creative area, and like, you know, I would consider Bill Gates to be more of a nerd. He was creating stuff. And then geeks are people who love the fandom. Like if you love, you know, going to Comic-Con and you love all the figurines, you're a geek for all that stuff. And one's not bad and one's not good. It's not like, it's not black and white, but this is something that, from that definition, I'm a geek for Star Trek. I don't sit around. If I wrote a Star Trek novel, I'd be a Star Trek nerd. If that makes any sense. All right. Anyway, this is awesome. Someone who, does it say who here? Artist Jason B. Okay, so Jason B, he's working on the Enterprise D. And this is going to turn into a rap song if I'm not careful. In the Unreal Engine 4. I'm just going to open this up. This is awesome. Now, the first thing that I thought of, you know, when I saw this, is I was like, okay, you know, he's flying around. He's in the shuttlecraft. He docks the shuttlecraft. I mean, he's done a lot of work here. This is nice. And he's trying to model the entire thing, but it already looks freaking good. So I'm just going to skip forward a little bit. There he is. Shuttlecrafts look great. He's done so much work. Anyway, he wanders around some of the halls, some of the decks. I think at one point he goes into 10 forward, but I don't remember.
I'll be very upset if Paramount cease and desists this.
Man, I will cease and desist their face with my fist. It would make me so upset. You know, if Paramount was smart, what they should do is call them up and say, like, awesome, we're going to make a game, and you're going to be the main guy that we're going to work with. That's what they should do. Because
they don't need to make a game. I would totally pay $40 if the Enterprise was completely done and they gave me some data files and an executable, and I could completely wander around the Enterprise and turn all the lights on and off, and it didn't do a damn thing other than just let me wander around the Enterprise. I would totally pay $40 for that.
I'd pay $70 if they gave us that, plus a little creation kit where you can release your own mods. That would be the coolest thing ever. You've got the whole Enterprise, and now you can add actors and create scenes and send them out to your friends, let them play through them. Maybe create different scenarios where people can play for a little bit and turn it into a little community thing. That'd be cool.
I might be willing to pay up to $70 for only the part of that lets you just decorate your own quarters. That's it.
And that's how we know you're a Star Trek geek. You're willing to pay that much for something like this. And I still think a good Star Trek FPS could be a thing. And they could use all this work he's already completed to allow them to turn different parts of the ship into very, you know, good, well-made levels that have some tense stuff. You know, like, oh, we got hit with a photon torpedo. We've got to go down to engineering and fix whatever the hull breach or that's about to occur. You know, then that could you could physically run through the ship while stuff was happening. I mean, they could all do that. And we haven't had a good FPS in this world since Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, which was a good game. If you haven't played it, I think the game still is a decent game. If you want to play an FPS, what is an FPS? I don't know. If you want to play an FPS in the Star Trek universe, it's the one. What's this guy doing? Watching someone do a full playthrough. Oh, look at that LCARS. So yeah, and you actually you're part of the away team, so you get to go down and do missions, and then you come back to the ship and do stuff. It's a fun game. Anyway, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, please let it be a game. And I imagine we'll be able to download this and play it for free eventually, since it's a fan-made thing. But Paramount, please don't. Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. I don't really have too many. Well, there's one more thing here. No, there's not. I've already looked at everything. I guess I don't have
just
any
a friendly
closing
reminder,
signs.
we're on Patreon, and you should go give us at least $1 a month.
If you don't, you should feel bad about yourself and cry at night. I don't know. Listen, if you're so broke that you can't afford $1 a month, then don't. Just watch the content and enjoy it and share it with your friends. especially your loaded friends, so they can give us $1.
Yeah, your friends that give us $1 a month, that would be a thing. That was one thing that I didn't mention earlier, is that with Google, when we were actually making some decent money with Google ads, the nice thing about that is that it completely removed who the advertisers were, like our choice of advertisers, from the equation. And so I see that as less bad versus taking money directly from the advertisers. And so we're reworking some stuff with the Google Analytics to maybe have some other people manage the ad end of that. I mean, there's not really a lot of details to go in there, but the situation is, if we have ad space and we're allowing Google to broker that space for us, then we are completely out of the equation. We have no control over what ads you see and what ads you don't. That's good. We like that situation better, but the money has gone to the point where it's just because ad block, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a church and state situation, so that's nice. But the bottom line here for me is that I really want to get down to some of this crazy stuff. Like, this is what makes me happy all the way, these things at the bottom. And, being able to go to the hacking events and small indie events, covering a lot of the stuff that most vendors are just not interested in at all. Like, hey, we're going to go to a small esoteric, maybe the Chaos Computer Club in Germany. We're going to go to their event, like, how many people are going to be there? A few hundred, maybe a couple thousand, and like, well, we don't care about that. How's that going to help us sell a mouse or a graphics card? You know what I mean? So we would be able to just say, we're going to do whatever we want to do. That's the big thing for me, being able to have complete freedom to do what we want. I can't sleep at night if I know that there's stuff that I'm obligated to do. It's weird. I've got these weird, I don't know. Like, some people in the industry call me a freaking hippie and stuff. Like, God, you hippie. How
Again.
Like, I've heard that from, not just from vendors, but from other YouTubers, like, you're freaking hippies. But whatever.
Again, our goals are not to be a 50-person enterprise. Our goal is to produce interesting content. We don't need to be a 50-person enterprise in order to produce interesting content. We just need to be ourselves.
Yep. And I also want to say...
But it's also going to be worth our time to do it, so...
Yep. We've got 7 people signed up for this level where they get the t-shirt every month, so that's kind of cool. We'll be sending those t-shirts out soon. So yeah, a lot of different rewards here. Go look at them. And
yeah, if you buy a lot of crap from the store, do that. It's a slightly better deal.
Yeah, why not? But thanks very much, guys. I can't believe we already have 200 patrons in a week's time. We made the tech support, and we already have more on this than we do on tech support. So that maybe it's just like an extra hoop that they have to jump through on our platform. It's just easier here. I don't know. But thanks, you guys, saving our necks.
Some people are on both, and thank you guys for doing that. So.
On both? That's crazy. You guys are crazy. That's pretty freaking
We love
humbling. Yeah. All right. See you guys in the comments on the website.